Welcome to the StraightUpHippo late night talk show. So, Ian Bell, how are you today?
What the fucking shout you done them off for? Playing your fucking mouth, mate. I'm a grown man.
Oh shit.
Rip your fucking voice box out your phone, son.
I think Project Cars 3 is like the most divisive racing game that's come out in a while. More specifically in the simulation community. For those people that didn't know, Project Cars 1 and 2 was a hardcore sim. Project Cars 3 is not a hardcore sim. This is a B-list drive club. That's how it should have been promoted. For some reason, the developers came out and said, you can make this a sim if you want it to be a sim. Not true. I don't know why. Why did they lie? Why did you lie? Like, just come out and say what it is. But if you are in the need of an arcade racing game, there is something promising here. So let's go ahead and rewind the clocks and actually talk about this right from the start. So Slightly Mad have released a fair few racing games in their time. Shift 1 being my personal favourite. I don't think they've actually come close to it since. Shift 2, again, a little bit weird. It wasn't fantastic on a wheel. It was alright on a controller, but in comparison to Shift 1, wasn't quite there. Then Project Cars 1 and 2 were games that for me were pretty shit on a controller and also pretty shit on a wheel. In comparison to, like, you know, iRacing, Automobilista, or Assetto Corsa, you couldn't compare the simulation experiences. They're just on a different level. There was a huge disconnect between what would happen on a wheel and actually what would happen on the road. And this is still very much here in Project Cars 3 for both like a wheel and a controller, if that makes sense. The problem with the Project Cars series for me is that it was never arcadey enough and good enough on a controller to rival Forza and Gran Turismo, but at the same time it was never good enough on a wheel to rival those, you know, sims I've just mentioned. And going off the back of, you know, the best racing game ever, Fast and Furious Crossroads, and Slightly Mad's pretty scummy business practices during the Project Cars 1 and 2 phase. For those people that don't know, they had like a diamond tier of their GoFundMe or whatever it was, and it was like stupidly overpriced. I'm not going to get into that here, but I feel like you should just know they've been trying some pretty dodgy shit for a while. So I wasn't expecting much going into this, and I think I came out quite pleasantly surprised. So let's go ahead and talk about the good stuff. So I played 12 hours of this game. I've been playing it on stream, so if you haven't already, follow my Twitch down in the description. Go do that. Also subscribe, because if you've made it past the intro, you're clearly not completely annoyed with my voice yet. So first good point is the car list. Car list is huge. Got a big variation of cars. You've got, you know, your old Group A touring cars. You've got road cars, hypercars, Formula E, all types of stuff that is in here. I actually prefer this car list to, say, Forza Motorsports. It's a lot more dialed in than Forza Motorsports is, but there's a lot of variation as well. I prefer these smaller car lists that are kind of more curated. Although there is a few cars, I don't know why they're in there. There's a Rallycross Fiesta, which shows up in the GTC events. Although a lot of it is well curated, there's just a few cars that just don't make a lot of sense to why they're in the game at all. Track list is also very good. Fictional, non-fictional, city courses. We've got tracks that are not licensed, but clearly rip-offs of, say, example, Suzuka. So overall, track selection was really good, even though, for the most part, the same tracks play over and over again in the career mode from what I played. That doesn't make any sense, but that actually happens. It's so weird. It's like, why have you got all these tracks? And then you just make me play the same one over and over and over again. It's weird. And one thing I will say on that note is the game definitely takes a life of its own when you get into the race cars. The road cars felt weird to me. They felt very jittery, very buggy. And we're going to talk about this in the bad points in a minute. But the game completely changes when you get into the race cars. FYI, I played on a controller for the majority of my playthrough and a wheel for a little bit, like an hour. And the controller support is much improved. But it's not on the same level as Forza and Gran Turismo still. So with that being said, I think we should go on to the not so good points. So let's talk about the physics, because I feel like going off that last point is probably makes the most sense. The way I'd explain the game as a whole, not even just the physics, it's a B-list drive club. The physics can be jittery, unpredictable. You know, sometimes the car will lock up, can feel like they're on rails. This is all on a controller. It's even worse on a wheel. With the assists, for the most part, I used all of them off. I played with all of them off, and it was still a super arcadey experience, which, again, I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but the physics just weren't polished to a level of Forza, and that was a huge problem. It seems like they didn't know if they wanted to commit to being a arcade racing game or a sim racing game. And it really shows when you're actually playing the game yourself. Like the controls and the way the game plays, it plays like an arcade racing game. But then you go into the tuning menu and I don't know what any of this does. This is all fucking weird to me. Now, I'm assuming if you're a sim guy, I'm sure all this makes sense to you, but coming from someone who plays a majority Forza Horizon and Forza Motorsport and stuff, I don't know what this means. Like, for the differential in the final drive, I just want to see a graph that shows me what I need to do for the final drive. I think even Assetto Corsa is a more user-friendly experience in terms of the tuning menus. The tuning is awful in this game. This, mixed with the lack of, like, polish overall, can lead to some really infuriating experiences. The AI is some of the worst I've ever experienced in a racing game this generation. I genuinely mean that. They're either way too easy, so you're laps ahead, or they're so hard to the point where I literally was on this one race for an hour. My car was the same performance index as everything else on that grid. Stupid. It's stupidly hard sometimes. Not to mention the difficulty for some of the time trials is just ridiculous. Like, I'm a pretty average guy. I'm a pretty above average racing gamer, but some of the times they wanted me to set, I don't even think Lewis Hamilton could do it. It was fucking retarded. The next bad point I'm going to go on to is the progression. I like that you have to earn what you have. I'm a big advocate for that. I think Forza is a little bit too easy nowadays, but there's so much artificial grinding that it's just not necessary. The star rating, for example. There's a star rating in every single race, but some of the objectives to get some of the stars are so obscenely hard. It's just ridiculous, and you won't ever get 3 stars for some of these events because of how hard it is. You know, if I'm like an above average racing gamer, Lord knows what it's going to be like for the people that are actually using the assists and like using the racing lines and stuff, because it's really, really hard. Not to mention stupid stuff like you've got to pay to unlock tuning like profiles in the game. That shouldn't be a thing. It should be free. Why? Especially when money's so hard to come by in this game. Stuff like that just shouldn't be a thing in this game. I feel like a lot of people are just going to give up because the game doesn't offer anything new on a regular enough scale other than new cars to entice players to carry on playing. Customization, yeah, really disappointing. Nothing in comparison to the Shift series. You can't change bumpers, you can't do spoilers. If you add the aero kits in the game, it actually doesn't do anything. The wheels and the tires are pretty cool. I think the tire customization is actually better, the best in class, but it's tire customization. Like, is it really that deep? I would have much preferred if they spend that time actually doing bumpers, you know, for cars that do have a big aftermarket scene in the game, and it's really disappointing that we didn't get that, even though there is race conversions and whatever. I didn't get a chance to use that in my playthrough. It would have been really cool if we actually had some visual customization if they were going for the kind of arcadey route. And the last point is Rivals mode. So Rivals mode is their hot lapping mode, and unlike every single hot lapping mode since the beginning of time, you can't just go around the circuit for as many laps as you want. In this one, isn't that what hot lapping is? Like, what are you talking about? In this game, what you have to do is you do 1 lap, and then it takes you out to a loading screen where you have to restart and go again. Why? I don't know who is slightly mad thought that was a good idea. I think the idea of it's pretty cool that you know you can see the ghost and stuff, but completely immersion's ruined when you're taken out of the race, even though you might be on a hot streak and whatever. Very annoying. And that's it, really. That's pretty much all my notes I've got on my notepad. Been a bit of a rambly one, this. Would I recommend a Project Cars 3 to someone then? If you're a hardcore sim racer expecting a sim experience, no. But if you have an appreciation for racing games and you like playing racing games, I'd recommend it on sale. I'd recommend it for £15, £20 on sale, unless you're just loaded and you've got just money to burn. I'd get it on sale. It's one of those games that if I bought for 15 quid, I'd be really, really chuffed with my purchase, because there's so much content for that much price. It is absolutely a B-Tech Drive Club. B-List Drive Club, B-Tech Drive Club. It's like PGR 4 -1. So PGR 3.5, I don't know. Kind of like that. I was pleasantly surprised. It wasn't quite on the levels of Shift 1 for me. I liked how in Shift 1 you could pick between being dirty and clean and whatever. Although this looks like a mobile game, I promise you there is actually a lot for, you know, a 15 quid price. So wait a few months, wait till it goes on sale, and then cop it would be my advice. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, hit the like, subscribe. We're gonna have some more exclusive stuff later on this week. Highly edited, you know, meme stuff. This was a bit more little chilled back, talking to the camera. But I hope you guys enjoyed anyway. I'll see you guys in the next one. You guys have an awesome, stay safe, and peace.